Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Barre Basics, and this is your week 3 tip. So hopefully you saw tips 1 and 2 that we're talking about having good position, good alignment, and we're going to continue that today and talk about the spine. And I even wore my party pants for you today. That music. Wow, music. Wore my party pants for you so I can demonstrate some good alignment. Okay. So we've talked a lot about alignment, about that good parallel hip systems. We talked about relevance, so coming up onto the ball of that foot. But one thing we haven't talked about is spinal alignment. So there are many bar methodologies out there. Many of them, especially the big commercial versions, teach bar in what we call a tuck. And that's actually not how I want you to be thinking about positioning your body. So what I thought, instead of just telling you what not to do, is to show you different positions of the spine in 3 different, one standing, one on the back, and one in tabletop, just so you could start to understand and picture what that looked like. So any bar instructor loves a high-waisted pant, and no exception. So I wore the high-waisted pants so we can really see what my spine looks like. So first I'm going to come into a nice parallel, and I'm going to come up onto the ball of feet. So you remember this hopefully from the releve tip. And I'm going to slide down the imaginary wall. So hopefully you can see the curve in my spine. So if you're looking at the curve in my spine, this is what we would call a neutral spine. The lumbar spine is going to come. It's that C curve that we have in the spine. So we want as much as possible, this is why you have this ears over shoulders of our hips with the alignment, is to preserve the C curve of the spine. This is even more important for you if you're pre or postnatal. It's even more important not to put extra extension and flexion into the spine because baby has nowhere to go. Okay, so here I am, and let's just talk about what that looks like. So the first thing we could do is perhaps we could be here neutral, and then we could come into that tuck. So what's happening when I'm tucking? So basically the tuck is rolling the hips under. And what happens? You can see all of a sudden my lower back becomes flat. So I've taken the natural curve of that spine out of it. So there are some methods that will teach you bar just to stay in this tuck. And again, that puts extra stress on the knees, on the quads and hip flexors, the low back. So you'll notice in our Barre Basics class, we'll start doing a little bit of tuck release, but really that's maybe only a minute in that position. So I don't want you here with the hips tucked under. I also don't want you kept super untucked. So we can think about the untucked motion is what we would do if we were squatting. So I'm coming back. Actually, this is an over tuck just to show you. Or another time we would want to untuck the hips is when we're stretching out the back of the leg, the hamstring. So those are the 2 failure patterns. I don't want you tucked way under, and I don't want your hips untucked because again, that's putting pressure into the spine that it doesn't need. So just shaking it out, coming down into a nice neutral spine. So my core is tight, but I'm not sucking it in, and I'm also not holding my core in. Okay, so let's see what that looks like when we come down into tabletop. So this is important for things like fold over on the floor, for things like push-ups. So this is a little bit easier to see and understand if you're taking yoga, because this will be familiar to you. So here I'm in a neutral spine. So you'll notice my back is mainly flat, but it's got a little bit of a curve. And then we can think about if we're coming into our cat pose or coming through into cow pose. So again, this extension and flexion of the spine is good, but we want to spend most of our time in neutral. So thinking about neutral, keeping that chin tucked in, when we're doing our push-ups or our planks, our gaze is going to be just about a foot in front of us. That's to keep that neutral cervical spine as well. So again, here's your nice neutral position for tabletop. And I'm going to come down onto my back, and I'm going to grab something hopefully you'll be seeing in the next couple classes, my Pilates ball. So let's look at what that different pelvis shapes and spine shapes look like on the floor. So if I'm here laying flat on the floor, one thing I notice that people do is they will start to arch the back. So you're going to press down into the glutes. And as they do that, that lower back lifts. This is the same thing that we were doing in our quad stretch, or excuse me, our hamstring stretch. So this creating this kind of this little house, this little home underneath my low back is going to create some strain. Likewise, I don't want to be completely in a tuck, so taking those hips and tucking them in. And again, this flexion is what's going to give us the abdominal workout, but we don't want to live in that flexion. Using the ball, so it's going to the sacrum. So a nice neutral spine is here. And again, here's that extra home, this extra big house underneath the low back, or tucking it way under. So it might seem a little bit subtle, and it is. I'm gonna check my shirt. For babies. But I really do encourage you, if spinal position is not something that you're used to set in front of a mirror and to just practice coming to extension and flexion, just to see what that feels like. Because that's the thing I'm looking for y'all, is to create that mind-body connection so that you are able to understand the position that your body is in and come back into that healthy neutral position. So that was your hopefully pretty short tip for week 3 of Barre Basics, and I hope to see you soon at the bar, maybe even in party pants. Bye, everyone.